Hello students, welcome to Noble Digital class. We look forward to your utmost attention and dedication towards your class at your Noble platform. Using of technology in excess may be harmful for your physical and mental health. To reduce its aftermath, yoga and meditation is recommended. Students should practice these regularly. Please watch the video for 30 to 40 minutes only. Then take 5 to 10 minutes break. Close your eyes and recall the content taught by your teacher. This short break will be quite relaxing for your eyes.
Hello students, let us start today's class with the prolific thought of the day. Today's thought of the day is very much inspirational and very much motivating. When we talk about human life and its different span of learning or its evolution, obviously the very thing which comes at very core part of our life, that is learning. So learning, today's thought of the day is inclined towards it. Thought of the day for today is learning is the most beautiful thing which cannot be taken away from you by anyone. This is the most gifting aspect of learning. What is the most gifting aspect of learning? The beautiful aspect of learning is that no one can take it away from you. It will be with you, okay, till your last breath. With that positive thought, let us start the resumption of the explanation of the chapter number 4, the enemy. I am catching the action from the page number 41, and now the discussion is over between General Takima and Dr. Sadao that he would be sending in a day or two at his earliest his private assassins to kill, to slay, to murder, to assassinate Mr. P.s.buck, so that all the anxiety, all the despondence, all the distress of Hana can be eliminated. And for the sake of Hana only, okay, Dr. Sadao was making that earnest request, okay, to General Takima. Now the deal has been done between General Takima and Dr. Sadao that in a day or two, better, it is very night which is approaching, he would be sending his assassins to remove, to slay the p.s.buck. Even General Takima promised Dr. Sadao that he would be, those assassins of General Takima would be removing the corpse, the dead body of the p.s.buck also after they had killed, okay, the p.s.buck. So that was done between General Takima and Dr. Sadao. With that, the discussion over, meeting over, and now Sadao is all set to return back his home to Hana. Now let us page number 41, and here we go. Sadao considered that perhaps would be best, Excellency. He agreed, thinking of Hana. What he was thinking? That he was thinking that Hana should not come to know anything, whatever has happened, okay, between General Takima and him. She should not know that the assassins would be arriving to their home that night. So this was a so-called, what can say, concern was there in the mind of husband Sadao for Hana. Okay, he wanted to keep this entire meeting, entire discussion, entire conspiracy, entire plan, okay, from Hana, so that she cannot get timid, she cannot get frightened, thinking the thought that a murder would be taking place at her home. He left the general's presence, then he went home, thinking over the plan. In this way, the whole thing would be taken out of his hands. And now he was making his way towards his home, and he was seriously pondering over the consequences, the outcome, the bright side of this particular thing, that in that way the entire case or the entire threat, entire problem, okay, will go away, okay, from him, and no one will be there in the country Japan who would be able to blame, okay, General Dr. Sadao, okay, to be a traitor. He would tell Hana nothing, okay, and since she would be timid at the idea of assassins in the house, and and yet certainly such persons were essential in an absolute state such as Japan was. How else could rulers deal with those who oppose them? And now he resolved in his mind, he decided, Dr. Sadao, that he would not reveal anything, okay, to Hana about this particular plan, because she would be very much scared. She must be very much dreadful, thinking of the presence of assassins at her home. Now it is for the readers coming next lines are that if General Takima was the head of the army, chief of the army, why was there any need for him to have the private assassins? Yes, answer is written there in the very next line. Because Japan in those days, okay, was at war with America. That is called absolute state. Absolute state of a kingdom or a country refers to that condition where all the powers are there in the hand of one man only. That is General Takima. Or if a person has got all the power, okay, in his hand, he may get a bit arrogant, a bit authoritative, bit autocrat, what can say, venomous dictator, and out of that he may have some sort of a rival, some sort of opponents, some of the enemies of his own a kingdom or a country. So in order to curb such what can say civil war or the strife or the struggle or a rebel or a revolt started by his own fellow being against him, since they may be disagree, okay, with some sort of policies made by General Takima, okay, out of his raw arrogance, out of his raw power. Therefore, it was mandatory for General Takima to have those private assassins to curb what? To suppress, compress what? Any such a rebel, any such a revolt which can be initiated, which can be waged against him by his own fellow being. Opposed that, he refused to allow anything but reason to the atmosphere of his mind as he went into the room where the American was in bed. He refused to allow anything but reason there. Obviously, he had made up his mind that what is to be done and what not to be done. And the moment he reached home, he entered the POW's room. He entered the American's room, and what he witnessed there? The American was in bed, but as he opened the door, to his surprise, he found the young man out of his bed and preparing to go into the garden. Though before a day only, okay, when he examined the condition of POW was not up to the mark. He was not that much, what can say, healthy enough, okay, to come out of his bed. But that particular day, that particular moment, when he saw that POW, when he entered POW's room, he could not find him on his bed. Then he thought, okay, he might come out of his bed. So he could not find POW on the bed. It means he left the bed, he came out of the bed, and now a serious concern was shown by Dr. Sadao for the patient, and he was preparing to go into the garden. Mr. Tom, the POW, was all set to move, to have a stroll, to have a walk in the adjacent garden. What is this? He exclaimed, Dr. Sadao. Dr. Sadao, seeing the POW, okay, that he was making his way to the garden, it was not a good sight for Dr. Sadao, okay, to watch. So he didn't like it. He didn't like it. Why? He exclaimed with some sort of, what can you say, annoyance or some sort of anger. Why? Because according to Dr. Sadao, still he had not been able to recover completely fully, and he was not supposed to leave the bed, okay, before Dr. Sadao permits him, allows him to do so. What is this? He exclaimed. Dr. Sadao exclaimed. Who gave you permission to leave your room? Means, did you take my permission? Okay, he wanted to say that. I'm not used to I'm not used to waiting for permission. Now once he got recovered, okay, the confidence level, okay, was also increasing in the mind of Mr. POW, and the manner, okay, he started talking with Mr. Sadao. Check it out, check it out. I'm not used to waiting for permission. Tom said gaily, happily. Gaily, happily. So there was exuberance in his tone. There was happiness in his tone. There was cheers in his tone when he said so. Gosh, oh God, gosh, oh God, I feel pretty good again. But will the muscles on this side always feel stiff? So now he was feeling really well that particular day, Tom. Therefore, he was thinking to have a stroll in the adjacent garden. But the moment he started moving forward, suddenly he felt some sort of pain, some sort of ache in his intestine area, in his ribcage area, and he asked the query, will the muscles on my side body will be as stiff as ever? Okay, they will not get loosened up. He wanted to say, will he be feeling the pain both of the side? Okay, for days to come also, or the pain will be relieved with the time goes ahead. He wanted to say that, he wanted to ask that. And the moment Mr. Sadao came to know that his patient was feeling some sort of pain in his ribcage area, see the reaction. He forgot all about his plan, he forgot all about his assistance, he forgot each and everything what has happened so far, and his total rupture was there, in his total concern was there, okay, in the query of Mr. Tom. Side always feels stiff? Is it so? Dr. Sadao, means are you feeling some sort of pain in your ribcage area? Is it so? Sadao inquired, surprised. He was really surprised that okay, operation was a great success. How it is possible for Tom to feel one part of his side body a bit stiff, bit what you can say, a bit solid, or a bit what you can say, a bit painful, bit painful, stiff there, okay, rigid there. He forgot all else. He forgot all else. He forgot about the plan. He forgot about the assassin. He forgot about each and everything. That shows his total commitment, dedication towards his novelist profession. You forgot all else? Now I thought I had provided against that, he murmured. Dr. Sadao said, I remember, I guess, I gather, I have asked you to do something. If you feel one of the sides of your body stiff, I gather, I hope, I might have asked you to do something against it. Didn't I? He murmured. He lifted the edge of the man's shirt and gazed at the hilling, and now he lifted the corner, the edge of the shirt, so that he could see what was the stiffness Mr. Tom was feeling, and what about the recovery, what was the latest status of the wound of Mr. POW. The scar, the injury mark, massage may do it, he said, if exercise does not. And now straight away he said that if you have got one part of his body stiff, now I think if you keep doing a regular massage, a regular rubbing to that particular organ, to that particular side, you will be having some relief or okay, some sort of comfort against that stiffness. If exercise does not, if exercise has not relieved you from that stiffness, I think massage will be the best cure for removing the stiffness of the side body which you are feeling, my dear. Sadao said that thing to Mr. POW. It won't bother me much. No, doctor. It is not a big issue for me. But just I was confirming whether this part of my body will remain stiff, okay, for days to come, or it will be removed by the passage of time. The young man said, his young face was gaunt under the stubbly blonde beard. Now he was a young man of barely 17, 19, 20, hardly a young man, and upon that he was a soldier. Obviously his physical fitness, his vivacity, okay, his immune obviously was extraordinary, but his gaunt, weak, pale, under the stubbly, small hair on chin, okay, or you can say small growth of hair, okay, is called stubbly, small growth of hair, blonde beard. Obviously he was a blonde boy, he was a blonde, and beard was not that much, what you can say, extended there. He had the beard, small hair, and the color obviously was a yellowish one, that is called blonde. Being an American, okay, that was a usual, what can say, sight to see, and that the blonde was the color, blonde was the, what can say, the very much appearance of Mr. P.O.W. Say, doctor, I have got something I want to say to you. If I had not met a Jap like you, well, I wouldn't be alive today. I know that. Instead of a statement of gratitude came out of Mr. P.O.W.'s mouth for obviously Dr. Sadao. He is making it clear to Dr. Sadao that had Dr. Sadao not come to his life in the country Japan, if he would have watched outside of the door of someone else, some other Japanese, he would have been no more till that time. But thank God that he was on the land of enemies. But a person like Dr. Sadao was such a philanthropist one, such a generous one, such a humanistic one, that he is still alive. So here Tom is giving the entire credit of his survival to Mr. Dr. Sadao. Okay, and Dr. Sadao coldly responded, I know that, I know. Okay, no need to, what you can say, buttering me, no need to exaggerate that thing, okay, no need to say that thing that I have saved your life. I know that. Sadao bent low, and he could not speak. Furthermore, he could not speak that because something else was going on in his mind. Sure, I know that, Tom went on warmly, his big thin hands gripping a chair were white at the knuckles. And now, sure, Sadao bowed, but he could not speak. Sure, I know that, Tom went on warmly, his big thin hands gripping at a chair white at the knuckles. Sure, obviously a word was exchanged between them, and then, in order to get a chair underneath him, Tom grabbed the very, what can say, the side of a chair, or when he grabbed the rail of the chair, knuckles, the finger joints, the joints at finger is called knuckle. So Dr. Sadao was able to see that knuckles grew white. It means that he had been recovered, but not completely. He was still weak, he was still gaunt, he was still leaking blood in his body. Therefore, knuckles were quite white, okay, when he looked at them. I guess if all the Japs were like you, there wouldn't have been a war. And he goes further, Mr. P.O.W. goes further, he was making it clear, he was making a statement okay, out of his heart, that if all the Japanese were like Dr. Sadao, there couldn't be any war between America and the country Japan. A war, perhaps. Sadao also agreed that perhaps, yes, you say so. You said correct. You said correct. Sadao with difficulty. There was hesitation when Sadao said, no, yes, perhaps there was some hesitation. And now I think you had better go back to bed. And eventually, Dr. Sadao asked Tom to go to his bed. Enough talking over, like that. He held the boy back into the bed and then bowed, good night, he said. And now, Mr. Tom, as he was feeling one part of his body bit stiff. It means injury sign was still there. His body had not been recovered completely. Dr. Sadao came to know that. So now he is helping the POW to go to his bed so that he can sleep comfortably. And then a word was exchanged, good night or goodbye. Good night, he said so. Sadao slept badly that night. Time and time again, he walked. He got up, thinking he heard the rustling of footsteps, the sound of a twig broken or a stone displaced in the garden. Now, the long cherished night which he was waiting for has eventually arrived. Now, daytime, he was promised by General Takima that he would be sending his private assassin. So that night has come. Now, Dr. Sadao was on his bed, obviously, no doubt about that, but he woke up, he got up. After hearing what? After listening what? He heard the two sounds. First, rustling of the footsteps, the movement of the footsteps. Rustling here, movement of the footsteps, and the sound of a twig. Twig, a branch of a tree. Twig, a branch of a tree. A branch of a tree was broken and some stone displaced in the garden. It's all about surmise. It's all about assumption. Okay, Dr. Sadao started weaving a story out of his imagination by using, by thinking, by listening those sounds which were coming to his ears through the garden side area. He heard the sound related to rustling of the footstep. He tagged that sound to those assassins who might have come. Then breaking of the branches, it made the case that they were just moving into the garden, through the garden, into the rooms of a tomb. There may be the breaking of branches of the tree on the way, and then come displace of the garden and the stones. Because it was night time, they could not see the stone which were lying on the floor of the garden. So they might have bumped into those stones which were there on the floor of the garden. And a nurse, such as man might make, who carried a burden. Here, a burden, some sort of weight, some sort of dead body. So he anticipated, he assumed, he actually created a story, a hypothetical stuff though, out of his imagination, that men have come, assassins of General Takima have come, they have entered into Tom's room from the garden, rustling of the footstep, breaking of the twig or a branch. After slaying him, after murdering him, they were getting his dead body on their shoulder, or when the people are having some burden on their shoulders. Now, they are not supposed to look at the ground while carrying a huge burden. So they might have bumped across or into or against the things which were lying on the ground. Carried to the burden. The next morning, he made the excuse to go first into the guest room. If the American were gone, he then could simply tell Hana that so the general had directed. Now, generally, ordinary days, it was Hana who was entering Tom's room earlier than Dr. Sadao. But he was so curious, he was so desperate, Dr. Sadao. Okay, whatever he heard last night, the sounds he heard last night, he was damn sure that last night, okay, proved to be the last night for Tom, okay, of his life. So he was so desperate, he was so curious, he was so avid. So he had to go earlier, than Hana into the room of Mr. Tom. And obviously he was thinking that plan was successfully executed last night by the assassins of General Takima. What happened when he entered? Okay, Americans were gone and then he could simply end. But if such is the case, if really they had come and killed Mr. Tom, then he would be telling each and everything, okay, to Hana, what actually had happened between him and General Takima previous day. But when he opened the door, he saw at once that there on the pillow was the Shaggy, full of hair, shaggy, hairy, H-A-I-R-Y, hairy, or full of hair, dirty also sometime. He could see the shaggy blonde head, means he could see the head of American or the POW with his yellowish hair, okay, on his head. He could hear the peaceful breathing of sleep, and he closed the door again quietly. Nobody came. All his thought, okay, really could not get the ground of reality, because he could see the shaggy, the shabby, the dirty, the hairy, the fleecy, F-L-E-C-Y, fleecy, shaggy, the fleecy head of Mr. POW. And then he locked the door or shut the door, closed the door quietly, and came out. Quietly, he is asleep, he told Hannah. He is almost well to sleep like that. Now, a doctor's statement came out of his mouth to Hannah. He was making it clear to Hannah that now POW was really recovering, okay, with a great pace, with a great lividity, with a great vivacity, with a great speed. And he will be all well within a day or two. He intended to say that to Hannah. Sleep like that, what shall we do with him? Hannah whispered her old refrain. Old refrain, old complaint, grievances. Now that's okay. Hannah was not least interested in knowing about the recovery and health of Mr. POW. She was more inclined, she was more curious to know what will be the next step of Mr. Sadao in the case of Mr. POW. Sadao shook his head. Okay, he nodded his head. Dr. Sadao nodded his head in confirmation that he was understanding what Hannah intended to ask from him. Yes, surely I'll be doing something against it. And then blonde his head. I must decide in a day or two, he promised. Then eventually a promise was given by Dr. Sadao to Hannah that in a day or two, okay, he will be deciding each and everything about POW's fate, about POW's destiny. What is to be done with him in a day or two, he'll be deciding. That promise was given by husband to wife, Hannah. But certainly, he thought the second night must be the night. There rose a wind that night, and you listened to the sounds of bending boughs, branches. Boughs, previously the word twig, T-W-I-G, was there for branch, or here boughs, B-O-U-G-H there. Now, first night, if not the night for Mr. Tom, the last night for his life, second night perhaps should be the night. It means he wanted to say to the reader that General Takema might have forgotten his promise, okay, for that night, but second night surely will be the last night for Mr. Tom. Okay, he thought that. Now he rose. There rose a wind. Now a wind started blowing at his pace, and he listened to the sounds of bending, because the wind was so acute, was so enormous, was so great that the branches of the tree started bending due to the enormous wind which was blowing at that time in the garden. And whistling partitions, or even the doors, even the panes of the window, or the window pane, or the doors of Tom's room, as well as the entire house started moving here and there. The usual sight whenever there comes some sort of windy cyclone, it is a usual sight to watch, that the partitions of the home or the room started just moving, whistling here and there. Hannah woke too. The wind was so acute, was so great, was so enormous. Okay, gale came actually. Gale, G-A-Y-L-E. A mighty storm of the wind is called a gale. So, because of the gale, she too woke up. She got up too after listening to the sound, and then Hannah woke up too. Ought we not to close the segment partitions, he asked. Because the partitions were whistling here and there, okay, closing it down and opening it of their own, means Hannah wanted to go into Tom's room and wanted to close the partition so that there won't be any more disturbance for Mr. Tom. No, Sadao said, he is able now to do for himself. No, Hannah, you need not go. You need not go. He is capable enough. He is healthy enough. He has recovered well to do these particular thing for himself. You need not go. You need not go. But the next morning, an American was still there. But after second night had passed, Dr. Sadao went to Tom's room and he was able to see him there again. Means assassin didn't turn up second night also. Then the third night, of course, must be the night, the wind, and then he thought, hope sustains life, hope sustains life. So what he thought, that third night must be the night. Okay, means 2 days, General Takima may be busy in the affair, may forget. But third night, he can't. So third night perhaps will be the night he had been waiting for. The wind changed to quiet rain. Now it was raining. And the garden was full of a sound of dripping, oozing, dripping, falling down, falling down, oozing. Eaves, the part, okay, the drainage of the roof, Suppose there is a roof and the waterfall comes or the raindrops come, and suddenly it will be creating a big collection of the water, okay, on the roof. So the water will come out of the roof through the eaves, there may be small hole, okay, attached to the wall of the roof, out of which the water will come out and will fall into the garden. The rain was so enormous that it has started many eaves, many drainage there, small waterfall, spring we can call it, okay, running spring the word has come naturally. And now idea is to convey to the reader that now due to rain, the eaves of the roof started emitting water from all over the roof. Sadao slept a little better. Now he was thinking that night must be the last night for Mr. Tom. General Takima may be a bit sloppy, bit lazy, bit careless, but not more than that. 2 nights he somehow tolerated, but after third night he won't be able to tolerate the distress of Anna anymore. A little better, but he woke at the sound of a crash and leaped to his feet. Suddenly he heard some crashing, a sound of collision. Crash, a sound of collision. The two things really collided each other. Obviously it created a lot of sound, a huge sound. Listening to such sound, he just woke up. He just jumped on his feet. Leaped, jumped, leaped, sprang,